So the lab today is to work with class. It's funny, I made this yesterday. Too bad I couldn't use it. I made this, teach class how to class. So we're learning Ruby and today we're learning the most important concept in Ruby is class. Ruby is an object-oriented programming language. A class is something like a general noun, right? And an object is an instance of a class, right? So an instance means it's like an example of that class. So a person is a class. Then what are some examples of a person? Bob, Alex. It's a very specific example of a person, right? However, you say, well, person is a class, but then, maybe I have Asian as another class. Well, you can see that maybe Asian is one ethnicity of a person. They are both classes. They're just class at different levels of abstraction. A flower is a class, and if you made like it, you could have rose as a class. And then inside rose, you have many instances of rose, like one type of rose, another type. So it can, sometimes the line is a little blurry, right? Sometimes you have flower as a class and rose is one specific rose. But if you think as rose as a class of, flowers, that could also work. So we go with something super simple here as an example. I am now providing help on lab as I do the assignment. Do the lecture, because I hope that you will not feel too overwhelmed working through things line by line. So this lab, you can do this. It's even easier now. After all this pain that you've done, you just basically, you can copy this to your code. And don't just ignore things, but this is the ability to read code. By now, I expect that we can read, code a little bit, and you can learn from some style, right? And when you either see ... or your code here, you know that, okay, I am, going to fill this out, okay? So I fill out the obvious. When I say define a class flower, everyone knows how to do that. Define a method, blah, I put def blah there, and maybe it's easier. Then you guys fill out, okay? And then the test here pretty much is like some basic test. Feel free to, add your own test, right? Create a flower, set some properties. Are we clear so far? Obviously, you still don't understand, like, what the heck is this, .new thing, but don't worry about it. I just give you a preview of what the final product should look like. So today will not be so painful because you can just copy this and run, right? And when you run, nothing comes up because, or maybe when you run here, actually it will just crash here. There's an error, right? And then you're going to fix it by implementing the code. Okay? So that's exercise 1, and when we get to the other items, I'll go back and mention it. Let's get to class. Let's get classy. Let's see here. I am going to create something called lecture 4. Maybe part 1. Hey, I'm messing it up. You're still awake? Doing lecture in the morning is much easier. So lecture 4 of week 1, we have learned a few data structure. The last thing we did was that, let's say if I have a person, okay, and then this person is 21 years old, and this person has name Bob, okay? There's a bit of a problem here because if I start to create multiple person, it doesn't seem right. I can't name it person. So if you only have one person, you can name that. Then you start to realize that maybe I want to name it Bob, and I name it maybe Alex here, right, etc. And then now you have an array of people. So here's Carrie. I just love all the ABC example. So here will be, people is a list of Alex, Bob, and Carrie. We know how to deal with an array of hashes now, right? And it's pretty cool where you can choose any person, let's say the first one, and then you can check out the name. This is called reading out the value. What is the value here? Alex. Ha, I tricked you because I put the Alex here first, right? So that's Alex. And however, you can even change this to be a more complete name like Alexander, Sander, right? And then this now return this value, but you can call it again and it will return Alexander. Sounds good there? It feels like every time I create a new hash here, I have to follow these rules and it's easy to make mistake. Like, what if, I suddenly do something like people zero title. And then I thought name and title is the same thing. Or like, you do full name. And then you put here as Alex Smith, right? And later you sort of get lost because name and full name, which one do I use? Okay? So then, wouldn't it be nicer when I can just say the structure should be, there's only two properties. So you know about methods and variables, but I'm not going to use the word property. Property is like in English here. Like name and age are properties, right? Or what else can we think of? Attributes. And the word attribute is like, similar to properties. In Vietnamese is thuộc tính, right? But it's characteristic or anything like that. So we'll call this attributes for class. So actually for hash here in the Ruby language, it's called keys. Remember? That is the keys and values. So in class that we're going to learn, it's called attributes and values. So let's get ready to get confusing between name and where's this full name here. Alright, start to go. Okay, so I'm going to learn something called a class person. Right. The lecture uses person, and then in your exercise you have to learn how to do flowers. So it's a bit difficult, right, to change. Alright, so I'm trying not to be too boring using the same class. There is something called initialize, and at first when you see it, you're like, damn, this is easy to make a typo here. But that's the only difficult word we have to deal with in class, really. And then, who here knows sort of, can guess what initialize mean? Initialize? So yeah, to start something, yeah. Start. Sunay, any guess what initialize mean? Yeah, to start something. So if you have a class and you sort of start something, maybe you're creating something new. And here, this is a person. We'll get to initialize very soon, but it looks like you guys already kind of get what it does. I have this person right here and I run, right? Right now my file prints nothing, okay? And I'm going to go to my interactive console and I do class person and that's it. Okay? From now on, I can have like Alex is person.new. So Alex is a person. Okay? I can have Bob as is person.new. So Alex and Bob are both persons. So it's sort of similar to hash. What hash I do is, the above hash here is Alex colon name, right? Alex name is, what's that? It's Alex, right? I'm going to try, but with hash, you're not going to use this. These are like keys and value, but I'm going to use something that looks like a method. So it's going to be alex.name. If you do alex.name right now, it will say undefined method name. Most of the errors you see in your code is like undefined local variable or method. Here it only says undefined method, it's not a local variable, because there's a dot in front of it. You never have a local variable that you call by putting a dot in front of it. When you have dot something, that's a method, right? Yeah, okay. So it hints that I need to define the method, right? So do I define def name here? Guys, what do you think? Do I define def name here to solve this problem? Undefined method name. Let's read this whole line, right? Undefined method name for person. So where do you think def name should go?
Before person.
Before? After? Inside?
Inside. Okay.
So if you put it inside, it's the name method of the person class. Okay? Name method of a person class. So I'm gonna, for me to test this, I need to be able to give some value so I know what that exactly it prints is, right? So I'm gonna say calling name, okay? So you see, using puts is extremely powerful for you to know where your program is running, right? Where it's going. And now I have to do IRB -R, which is requiring the file. And I do, I have this, I'm gonna go to that week 1 lab, right? Oh no, lecture. And okay, here's the file. IRB -R lecture 1-4. Did I type it wrong?
Isn't it R?
You did I.
Oh, thank you. Lecture 1-4.
IRB is initialized
Interactive Ruby. So JavaScript, Python, Ruby, they all have this interactive console where you execute one line at a time. It's very similar to the repo website, the right-hand side. So here, where in IRB you type 1 and 2, everything is executed immediately. This is the read, eval, print, loop. Loop means right now, I just type 1 and then it read, right? And then it eval and give me 1. And then it prints out. And it loops and I type 1, 2, so that's the repo. Okay? Repo is nice for like one line programming. It's not nice for the whole code. That's why repo is not enough. So I say, hey, repo, but before you give me the console to play with here, you also note what I wrote because I want you to know this beforehand. Okay? So here's the magic part, right? I know what a person is. A person is already known. It's now a name. Remember variable? Variable is all under what's that? Noun case. For the first time you see a capitalized word. This is like a general noun, right? Like a person. I define it up there. Okay? Down here, when I run IRB -R, this, it looks strange, but really like you just need to copy exactly this and change this to a file name. Okay? And when you make changes here, you exit out of this program and run it again. So what I just did is that I write simple here that all of us understand up to here, but I have this person class that we're trying to learn. Okay? What I did just now is that I have Alex as person.new. Okay? Alex is an object. This is an instance, so this is your identification. This person has an ID card. Right? This is the identification. This is the class name. And what I asked earlier is that I want to be able to do something like, hey, what is Alex's name? And last time when I do alex.name, what did we get? Undefined method name. So then I went in there and I asked do I put def name before person? That is outside name really. Outside person. After or inside? And we all decide that let's put it inside because it's saying undefined method name for person. So I just tried to solve that error, right? I'm gonna scroll it up to you to see. Oh, it didn't show. That's fine. So now I type name. What do you think will happen? It will say colon name because now there's a puts thing in there. So we can understand that, well, if I have a new person object, I can call the methods inside this person object. The methods I define in this person class are the methods I can call on the objects. So it means, what I don't like about this right now is that it's saying nil. Okay? It's saying nil, so I want it to be a real person's name. So I'm going to go back here. How can I fix that? If we understand methods already. Remember, puts return nil. So Ian, if I want to do alex.name to return Alex, you suggest we do something here? Okay, so if I ask you to write a method called name, can you do that? Def name and then end. Right? If I ask you to write a method name that return a string Alex, how do you do it? Def name and then just put the string Alex in there. So here, I am asking you all to do, can you write me a method, def name, alright, method name, that return a string Alex. Isn't that what you will write? And I know, right? Remember, I can have this thing and then I do Alex. It's just the extra stuff at the top. The final line in that method is what is returned back. So you guys can write a method name that returns a string. So if I do this now, and I run this again, person.new is Alex. Let's say Alex. And alex.name is now Alex. So is there any surprise there? Sounds fine, right? I think it sounds logical. It sounds like Ruby, again, with the English, like it's a friendliness mindset. I think I can start to understand this. Let me ask you how to do h, and then if I do .h, can you please fix this error for me? Hui? What is the error when I do alice.h? Undefined method h, that's not the only thing. For person. When you say for person, it means you have to go into the person and define that method. So can you talk to me? I'm sorry, I have to ask you to speak code, which is not easy. Can you talk to me how I solve this error? It's saying, yeah? Okay, define a method called age. Okay. By the way, speaking it up is very important because from next week you will be working like in pairs. Pair programming, one of the most powerful practice in programming. Of course, right now you have the duck. This first week, did you get the duck? No, Oscar did not get the duck.
I did not get it.
There's a gift ceremony. So each programmer gets a duck because that's your pair for this week. But next week you have a friend. So make sure you do have a friend in this class. So def age, you explain like this. Hey, define a method age, and then what should you return? Okay, so then now I define here. So what should I return here? Yeah, so what do you think this will return right here? So name.name return Alex, but age, I want to do something similar. So what should it return? Number. Give me a number. 26. Well, now Alex is 5 years older. Okay, let's do 21 here.
One question.
Yes?
Why are we using like a string of Alex and 21 instead of accessing those hashes?
You're saying why are we not using the lines up here, right?
Yeah, like why are we not telling the class to access the information up there?
Correct. That's a great question. Thank you. I moved from the above example.
Yeah.
I was showing from line 1 to line 11 is that it can do what we want. But there's a challenge over time. You sort of do colon name, colon full name, and it's still not all that clear. I'm presenting a better data structure that can serve more power purposes, and it's more powerful for now. Yeah. So we're not using anything above.
Okay.
Yes, no?
I was going to say, like, the purpose of us doing this right now is to make it easier to work with later. Because if we were to continue doing it the way from line 1 to 11, it becomes a lot more difficult later on with different things that we need to do. And it's also like just like Carly just said, data structure. It's just giving us different ways of working with these methods that makes our life easier later on. And that's really abstract.
Thank you. No, good. So I said earlier that every time I define a new person, I have to write this whole long hash. You see this? And there's no like default values. I just copy the whole thing. And what if the person has an age, name, height, weight, friends, and it's a friends, it's an array. Things get to be a lot, right? And it's a hash.
It becomes unmaintainable when you do something like that.
Right.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we just look at the core concept is a class. A class is better at keeping the information contained in this. It's called encapsulation, right? And you can even protect people from touching name or let's say age is a secret method. It's not a public method. So far you've been using method. They're all method, but the secret it's called a private method, right? People from the outside cannot get it. Okay? So I'm not going to reuse from the above, right? I have to come up with a better strategy to store Alex or Bob or Carrie. That's what I'm going to do next. Okay? Now look. I need help with this one, okay? So far, I'll call another person next. So far I have Alex like this, okay? And now I have Alex's name and Alex's age. I think that's pretty successful. What I want to do next is, what do you want to do next?
Add another person.
You see, I've been doing this up here, right? Line 5 is now okay. Line 8 is okay. Yes, two things. You can even do it next for Bob and Carrie. That's what Oscar said. Right? Another person. Handle another person. I'm going to try to do this first. Line 9. I set the name to be something else. Do you see this? And instead of hash, this is a square bracket with a symbol. Instead of hash, I just do it the English way. So how do I set name to be something else? I change it to Alexandra now. Okay? Are you going to do this? I think that looks amazingly clean. Alright? Let's change Alex's age to 26 because he's been lying to us. Right? Only we know Alex's real age. That was 26. So, if I do this right now, what do you think it will happen? And it's okay to be wrong. Come up with any. I'm doing the Oscar way. Like, try to explain this damn thing, right? What's going to happen? It will say false. Yeah? What do you think it will happen?
False.
False? Say false or there's an error? An error. And what is the error? Obviously, We don't know. We just force ourselves to explain. If you can come up with a clever error, you know, be pretty good. Here's the error. And look at this error. Can you tell me how to fix this error? We have been doing this, and this is the third time. We're fixing the undefined method error. Louis, your turn next. Undefined method age for a person. So what are you going to do?
You can touch the person. Without the age, you can modify that.
You can modify that, yeah. Specifically for this case, what is missing? What is it complaining? What is it complaining?
Age.
Yes, no, read the whole sentence for me.
Well, did you mean age? Is that what you want? Or
Nope.
undefined method age equals.
Correct. You just read that. So in the past, undefined method name, you saw what I did.
So can we just leave out the equals?
No. When I did undefined method age, you see what I did. So,
You define age.
okay, so can you read to me? What do I do? Def,
Age.
age. Yeah. So why do you guys hesitate?
Sure.
Is it because you know another programming language and this is so weird?
You can set another age.
Come again?
You can set another age.
So you should set
Set
another age, right?
I mean, you need a setter. Java is a setter.
Correct. So you see, in fact, if you know nothing, you just mechanically, you just try to see, okay, how do you put the word age here, and then here, and then here, age here, age here, age equal, put age equal, you will be right. But because some of you may actually have seen some other languages, and you think, this just doesn't make sense. Why do I have a method with an equal in it? No? Then you just hesitate. You feel like you need to unlearn your, scared.
You don't need to do any spaces, you just define it just
Yeah,
like
well, if I do spaces, then this is still wrong, right? So why do I put a space in there?
that. Okay.
So all I'm doing is put age equal, right? I'm calling this method, okay? And I run it again. And now I have Alex's, I'm gonna put everything in one line here. Okay, that's fine. Alex.age equals, are you ready? Alex.equal, wait, what's going on? Sorry,
Is there no age set to it?
Alex.age equal. I don't know what I did there that is bad. Interesting. Ruby actually doesn't like it very much. And let's look at the error here, and I'll explain why it doesn't like it. Okay? It's age equal, and when I call it, this time it doesn't complain at all. You see that? It no longer says undefined method. Age equal. Okay, I get somewhere. Right? But what it's saying is that wrong number of arguments. So after you type age equal, it's still expecting something. But when you give it something, then it's saying wrong number of arguments. You give me one argument, which is this one. Right? But I expect 0. I expect 0 argument. So I expect 0 is up here, line 22. Yes?
So how do you tell it to expect an argument?
Yeah. Have you ever defined a method with an argument and then when you run it, you may accidentally have more than one or less and that you run into the wrong number of arguments error? Have you run into a wrong number of arguments error? If you write a def full name, right, first and last, and you return first plus last, right? This is your full name method, but then you're like, oh, it works great for Adam Smith, right? Maybe it should work for Michael, I don't know, what's Michael's? Daniel. Jackson. It should work. And when you write this, you get the problem. It will just say wrong number of arguments given 3, but expected 2. You understand that one? When you write a method, you're telling Ruby that full name is a method that has 2 arguments. But when you call it with 3, it will say wrong number of arguments. Are we good? So at the very least, I am going to fix this wrong number of arguments. Given 1, expected 0. So I want to expect 1 argument. So I'm going to take 1 argument. I'm going to call it something. Yeah? Okay, I'm going to call it something. So I'm going to run this again. This is my Alex. Alex.age equal. Let's call 1 argument, let's say 12. And you see that it's calling age just like that. So you have control now, right? You can control what goes in there. Great, so why don't we, the real situation is, I want to set, what if I take away the parentheses? Ruby still understands. Is it? Right? Ruby understands because I told you the parentheses are optional. Right? Optional, so age is 12, or actually now we want to do age is 26. Isn't it? So age is 26. Then, well, calling age now should be better. Something like calling age, and then, you want to display something here. And if I write this, you know for sure when you call out age equal, it will bring calling age equals 26. I want to do something with 26. Okay? So I'm going to do something like this. Age equals something. You know the local variable? A local variable, it stays inside a block like that and n. But I told you in lab 1-2, there is a rating. When you do a rating instance variable, I asked you to add an @ sign. When you use the @ sign, this variable can be used outside its def. Can be used outside the def. That's the only difference for now. Okay? So if I do this, age equals something, after this n word, the age word is now forgotten. But I want to do @age equals something. Alright? So now instead, I am telling myself I'm setting age to be something. Sounds good? I'm going to do one more step. In age here, I'm going to say returning the value of age. And now this is age. I will say, if you ever set age, now my age is @age. Okay, just commit to your memory. If I say something, it is the instance variable something, right? It's a bit weird when you speak to a human and then you say, "Can you write @age equals?" And they will like, "What the hell is that?" So, but in our class, I hope everyone can remember that. So Alex is okay, and now Alex dot age equals 26, and it's just a method, nothing special here. It's a method with 1 argument. You don't need more than 1. But you know that it looks funny like that, so you can take away the parentheses. And I was really anal about writing the parentheses, writing the equal sign without a space. This is a special treatment. You can do the equal away from the word. This is the only exception, right? Because this is the exception to make things look beautiful. I can explain a little bit more afterwards, but you can do it like this, or you can do it like that too. Okay? Are you ready? Setting age to be 26. And now I do Alex.age in the future. I want to use it. Returning the value of age. And notice the arrow here, okay? in your terminal is different. I changed it to display colors and stuff, and right now the value is actually on the same line, but on your terminal, the number 26 is actually at the bottom. So that's the return value, right? But now I can write something like Alex's age is, right? Your favorite string thing. Alex's age is 26. Pretty nice, right? So how do we do Bob? Bob will be person.new, and then Bob.age is 22, and I'm done. Okay, it sounds like 2 steps. We can turn that into 1 step. But that's the idea that you can now do something similar to words up there. Okay? And based on what we learned, we can easily fix the same thing for name. Right? You think about def name equal, okay, this one you cannot do this, okay? Then it will think it's like that, right? So no, keep it name equal. And then for example, you say new name or whatever, right? You can call it value. Doesn't matter. This one, it just stay in there only within this method. And I'm going to save that to this attribute. Attribute name is name value. Are we clear on that? It's only setting the value. Don't ever use what it returns. It set the value. Okay? Of course, it's still returning this name, but don't use it, right? So here is the thing that you say setter and getter. In Ruby, it's easier to remember. This is the writer, and this is the reader. Yes, accessor is the general name for these 2 words. So in some programming languages, the 2 is accessor, it's called setter and getter. But in Ruby, the 2 accessor, it's called reader and writer. You see, it's designed by Japanese, so they come up with simpler English words. Okay? Who doesn't know the word read and write? Set and get those are the 2 words with the most number of meanings in the dictionary. If you open the dictionary and you look at the word set or get, it's like 10 pages long. Read and read is a lot shorter, right? So here, it's Lowy knows this very well, so we teach English. So, try to explain the word set and get to someone who's learning English. So name and it looks good, right? Are we comfortable with person now? So I'm going to pretty much, I can write bob.new, bob.name equal, bob.blah, right? In fact, it's like this. In fact, it's like Alex, I go back to the hash way. You see this, this is an empty person. Alex name is Alex. Alex age is what? 26. And then now Alex is that. Clear? I could do it in 1 line or I can do it in 3 lines. Okay? It's funny because that's the same thing as calling hash.new, by the way. Hash.new is the same as this. It's just nicer to read. So that's a hash. Turns out hash, this is just an instance. This is an object of a hash. Hash is a whole class. So you can do .new. So Bob is hash.new. And then, Bob's name is Bob. Alright, so that's Bob. Let's look at the person way now. Alex is person.new. And as alex.name, we don't use, that's the difference between this is hash and this is a person, right? .name is Alex. Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? Oh, I didn't reload it. Sorry. Let's reload it. One more time. Alex.name is, and alex.age is 26. We clear on that, and you type Alex, it will look like this. And this is the attributes, attribute and value. Up here, key and value. Key is a symbol. Okay? Attribute will be like this instance variable, right? Sounds good? Now you know how we can do that with here. 1 line you can define what Alex is. I wish I can do one line for my person. Would it be nice? No, this is one line. I want to be able to do one line just like that. So my wish list is something like this. Alex is person.new. Why don't we pass in some arguments? And the first argument is going to be Alex, and second argument will be 26. All right. If I do it this way, if I press enter right now, you're going to come up with some, you're going to see some errors. And let's not be too surprised by them, right? I'll press enter and then let's take a look. Why is it saying expecting 0 here? I've been using .new, right? No parentheses because no arguments. Yes? So, Sine, if I write person.new, how many arguments is it that I've just given? Person.new. If I have a method, like, a method, remember full name? Adam Smith. How many arguments is that? 2. So if I do person.new, how many arguments is that? Is it 1? Is it 0? Is 0, right? If I put in a name here, then it's 1. If I put in 21 here, then how many arguments is that? 2. If I put in here, the height will be 0.7 meter. How many arguments is that? So if I delete everything, how many arguments is that? And if I delete that too, how many arguments? It's still 0. And again, Ruby, this is the same as this, right? 0 arguments, then you can get rid of the parentheses. So you know that this works because I've been giving it 0 arguments. So I'm going to give it 2 arguments. Name is Alex, and second argument is 26. Then I have this error. It makes you want to do something like this, isn't it? You're like, so far is like new, and then what? Now you could maybe new name, you set a name value and age value, and then maybe now I could set name to be name and then age to be age. Right? Oops, sorry. Right? This would make a lot of sense. The only problem is you're calling person.new, not Alex.new. You guys see this? It's a class.
Yeah.
You call it person. You don't call Alex.new. Can you call person.name? No. Try it, right? There's no method name for person. It's different from there's no method name inside person. So you're not calling person.name. You're calling Alex.name. So what you've been calling is Alex is person.new and then Alex.name. So technically you're calling Alex.new.name. Right? So that's why you cannot do this name thing. So the guy who designed the language will be like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to call it some special name. Starting this person method. So it's called initialize. And of course you never call Alex.initialize. It's just a special, right? Special. Right? Don't call Alex.initialize, right? By the way, I'm curious now, if I do person.name, then what happens? Uh-oh. Oh, that's a bit stupid, no? It will be undefined method, name for person class. Name, by the way, name is a special built-in method for person. Because, what's the name of the class? Person. So, it's a bad example. But I do person.age. Undefined method age for person class. You see that's the class name here? It's very different from saying alex.height. Undefined method height for a person object. So you know how to fix this error. Height. You know how to fix this error, right? You don't know how to fix this error. It's okay. Don't worry about that, right? Don't worry about it yet. But what you're doing next is that I have learned that, maybe I've tried this, the person who designed this language say initialize. So let's look at the word, right? Initialize and person.new. Now I'm going to do person.new, press enter. What do you think will happen?
Gabe's name and age.
It was a wrong number of arguments, but it's the other way around now. I want 2 arguments all the time. I don't want 0. Right? Sinead, could you give me the 2 arguments for this new method? Yes, name and age. Can you give me one name? Alex, can you give me the age? 26. Let's do this. Oh, that looks nice. I have the home object here, and I have name and Alex in there. Great. I forgot to do one thing though. What is it? Save it to something. So I save it to Alex. And now I have alex.name and alex.age. So that's quite beautiful because your code is starting to read more and more like English. You don't even need to explain, I am defining your class. Inside this class, there are these methods and this is how you call them. In some languages, you have to do that, like C and stuff. But here, when someone reads this code, they're gonna be like, let me try. Right? Alex person.new, alex.name. It's super easy to read. Okay? Now here's my challenge to you. Let's continue to do this together. What if I want to set full name? So I change this to first name. Okay? I change this to first name. Look, first name, we still follow, right? I just change the name of the variable. The work of the Ruby code here doesn't change at all. I'm just changing the way I call them so that the person who read my code will understand this, right? So I say, you can give the first name. We good? And you can also, if you like, you can also give me the last name if you like. So when you give me last name, I'll just save it. Is that good? So now if you know a person, this is your contact list on your phone. When you save a phone number, does the phone force you to write both? No, but it will ask, can you enter the first name? And then sometimes you feel like you go back there and then you set the last name as well, company name and everything. And then when that person calls you, if you did not give it the last name, that person calls you, you only see the first name. But if you did give the phone both your first name and the last name, your friend's first name and last name, it will show you both. Why don't we do that? Right? It means this reader now has to change. This reader now has to change. No? So I don't like keeping this as name anymore. I'm going to save this, by the way, to make it less confusing, right? Okay. I only remember first name and last name. But when you ask me for name, I'm going to be very smart. I will say first name and last name. Do you notice I have a space in between? That's that. And now if I quit, let's try Alex, right? Person.new Alex. Everything stayed the same. Except now I can also say, I know Alex better now. Alex has been coming to class to, then after the 3rd day, I know that his last name is Smith. Are we good on that one? And now when you say Alex.name, what do you think happened? Alex Smith. So within this class, you can see it's so powerful. You can define another method, you can add the company, you can decide how to display this person to the world. Right? You can write a method here called contact information, like contact_info. And that method returns that person's name and email address. allows the person to set more properties to. Now it's called attributes. Are we feeling nice about the class? So this is my class here. Obviously, now sometimes you feel this is one of the difficulties we run into. We're like, I type Alex here. I see I have first name attribute, age attribute, last name attribute. So I want to do first name, right? Enter. Uh-oh. That's not working. I mean, try to set first name to something else. Alexander. It's not working. Why? Yeah, you just follow the error. Undefined method first name. Do you have it here? Undefined method first name equal. Do we have it here? We have it for last name.
Yeah.
We don't even have the reader for last name, do we? No. So you don't always have to define everything. But sometimes you need it. Right now this is protected, isn't it? It's inside. You can set last name, but I've only allowed you to set the first name the first time. So now in your code, you know exactly how to fix this, right? Right? Yes? Thumbs up if you're feeling good about the class. You're feeling good about the two errors? Right? Even though it seems strange and I see at first name here, right? And then I do dot first name, I don't see it. Fixing dot first name means def first name and then return at first name. It's simple as that, right? Fixing dot first name equal means write the method called dot first name equal with one argument called value or whatever you name it, and then in there you set first name equal to that new value. Okay? Now, even though it's the same error, fixing alex.company is different. You don't even have a company yet. No company attributes in this. So let's fix company. Let's fix company here. You will do, okay, for now I'm just going to add the method in no particular order. Company. So I fixed that. I can call company, but I want it to be meaningful, right? So I can always return Coder School as the company if it never changes. But I know like, okay, I'm smarter than that. Maybe company here can be company. If you start doing that, then you need to be able to set it so company equal value company. Are we good with the company thing? Let's try again. Now, this time you're in for another surprise. Ready? Alex is new here. Yeah?
Why not equals value? When I define company, why?
Gee, you caught the error. I'm just checking if anyone's falling asleep. That is exactly how you, obviously don't believe me, I made a mistake. But you know, it's nice to be called out on that by yours, from your side. So Alex is this, and press enter. You see what's going on? You see at first name and at age, that's it. It's not showing you the other things that are nil. It's okay, you may have a million values in there, but Ruby is just like, okay, I'm going to show you what you really care about right now. And I know I can do alex.company now, guys. And it may be, Coder School. Okay? And now you type Alex again. Hey, I see 3 guys. Right? And what I just did is that I just write, this is a writer, the value company. And I can do alex.company, this is reader, and then reader shows up. So I have repeatedly shown you how to add the reader, the writer for name, age, first name, last name. That's only reader and writer. This no longer is a reader, right? This is just a method or it says another sort of, it's like a virtual attribute. This, don't even worry what it's called, it's just another method, right? What it is that it's combining the information you have to return out another attribute, but it's not a real attribute. Look at the real attribute here, first name, age, company, and then you can set last name too. But when you do name, it's combining them. It's a smart way of doing things. And you can do the same thing for contact information now. How do you return contact information? You can do name, and you can return the company name. Whoa, that is, isn't it a bit interesting, right? I'm gonna just run it right now, and I have alex.company. By the way, you can do tab, right? Equal code school, and then alex.contact. You see the string here? Name and code school. There's a bit of a problem that two spaces, I hate having unnecessary spaces. The first space is between first name and last name, but I have no last name. So then, that's the first space. So Alex's name is like Alex's space. You get that, right? And then the second space is I put it here in line 38. So that's company name. This is the second sort of virtual attribute, my second method that I have. But don't you notice something funny? There's a difference between line 34 and line 38.
Yeah, the extra parentheses.
Huh?
The extra parentheses from company.
The parentheses here?
Yeah.
The parentheses are just what you see outside.
Right.
This is just a representation. If you do email, you have the square and the less than sign and the close sign, right? Company, maybe you do that.
Oh, the app.
Exactly. Would it make sense for you to do @name here? No, I don't have @name. I only have method name. But it's amazing because just like in your other code really, you do name, it will check, okay, it's not an instance variable. If you type this funny word like, what's another word for name in Spanish? What? And it will complain undefined local variable or method. Sorry, how do you spell it? How do you spell it? A? R? R? O? V? A. Arroba. So if I do this now, let's please predict the error, okay? Alex.contact. Undefined local variable or method. Exactly what you've been seeing from day one. So how do I fix it? Do I define arroba? That's one way to fix it, but I feel like it's doing the same thing as name, right? So I just fix it to name, and you see local method, the word method there. So if I have the method name, it will understand. So now that's why if you use if you use the word name, it will understand, right? So I'm not setting the name here anymore, by the way, no need. Okay. So company. If I do @company, would it work?
Yes.
Sinead, if I do @company, would it work? Awesome. Fantastic. You see that line 38 @company? It exists because if you look down here, there's @company when you set it. And if you look above line 25, sometimes you can set @company. So @company actually exists. And if you ever set @company to be Coder School, then line 38 will be Coder School. It works. But what happens when I do just this? Company. Would it work? Does it work? Undefined variable or what? When you do no app, it's either local variable or method. When you do company, It's not a local variable, but it's a method. Where's the method? Oh, it's not visible here. So if you say no, it doesn't work, I forgive you. But if you say yes, it works, it means you have very good memory. It's up here, line 20, right? So that works. It's just one extra step. It will go into line 20, and then it will read the instance variable for you.
So what's the best practice? Put the at or not?
The best practice is if you can use a method, use it, because sometimes later on you make changes to a company name or something.
Okay.
But if you don't have, let's look at first name and last name. Can you change this to last name? You
Yes.
actually did not define the reader, right?
No?
You only have the writer. Do you see the reader anywhere?
Okay.
No, right? Do you see video anywhere? So no. And then first name, can you do that? Do you see the reader anywhere? So the best method is, if you already define the reader is the method that returns the attribute, then you use it. If not, use the internal instance variable. Okay? Alright, I still need to say one more thing, but before I do it, I need to shake your brains a little bit because it's hot and tiring. Can everyone stand up a little bit? Can we all stand up? Because we're almost done. I'm going to teach while you're standing up. Alright, stretch. Because what you see in here is going to become 5 lines of code. So I need you to stretch and stand and sort of like get ready to fight because this is going to happen. Do you guys see that we're starting to do the same thing over and over? So instead of this, what is it called? A reader, right? You pretty much, it's a reader. So I have something called a company symbol, and I have something called reader. So this is like something you have to memorize, right? It's a word. It's okay for you to write line 20. And that's it. It's okay for you to write line 21, 22, 23. I do not blame you. That's still perfect. Okay? You choose one. But because my code here, it happens all the time, I like to be able to look at my person class on one screen. So I am going to get rid of this guy. Are you ready? Def company, at company, end. That's exactly how Ruby does it. This will become the method and will become the instance variable. Done? Remove. Okay, do I have something else? Age, right? Yeah? So, attribute reader, what? Age. Remove. Okay? Then I see these two things. I put them next to each other. It's kind of easier to see, you know? Let's put them at the beginning of the class. Okay? It starts to look like the hash above already. Like, man, I have the two, symbols again. This is another instance when you use symbol. Okay? And then next, maybe I want to make my life easier. I can also even call first name and last name. I didn't even have to think about, def first name, at first name. Sounds good? Let's go and fix the writer, right? Company, value, company, value. What do you think it's going to be? Attribute, writer, and company. Delete. Alright, what's the next one? Last name. Delete. Okay? So these two things I keep because they are virtual attributes. I think age is the same, right? So you're going to write here, attribute, writer, age, right? And then you delete these guys. Are we comfortable? And I move this one up here. And they're together, so I move them up here. It's a bit shorter now, right? And then I'm like, actually, I have writer and reader here. So I'm going to combine them like that. Maybe it's easier to read, no? Right? So reader and writer, there's an even shorter syntax, accessor, company. Good? Reader and writer here, I will do accessor, H. Good? Reader, maybe I can keep reader. I don't allow you to write first name. You can never change your first name, okay? Because that's how I remember you. First impression counts, right? But you can change your last name. So same thing here, attribute, accessor, last name. Is it one page yet? Not yet. Let's make it into one page. One page yet? Oh, it is. Let's make it shorter. I made it shorter because you will understand. Like, okay, first attribute, second attribute. So it's taking the whole argument, right? This is why I asked you to stand up because it's a bit much. But I think if you feel happy, you have the energy to stand. Then I think this is cool. In fact, I can even get rid of this, guys. How do I get rid of it? Well, technically, if I put this to be name, this is another option, okay? It doesn't mean that it's the best way to do things. It's up to you. If I define this as name, and I never change name anyway, so I could actually have attribute reader, name. Do you see what I'm doing there? Def name, attribute reader name is def name returns instance at name, but at name I already defined it. I don't have a writer for name because I'm writing it myself. So, no need that. In fact, you can do the same thing for contact. So that's the idea, okay? So when you do this name now, how does Ruby know? Ruby will be like, okay, name, undefined local variable name, yes, no local variable name. Or method name, is there a method name? No. It's a reader and a reader is a method. So take a look at this. You just saw how we reduced the whole 2 pages into half a page, right? And now from now on, your code, Alex, Bob, and everything, I can even do it right here. Alex will be person.new, Alex 26 as usual, and Bob will be person.new, Bob 22. This is Carrie, first, was 23. Okay, so this will be enough for you to do the lab. Okay, let me give you one more thing just so that maybe if anyone is still comfortable, I want to make you uncomfortable. Okay, you ready? I have a last name. Are you ready for that? And if I do this now, when I run, it will crash. Are you ready to run that? It will say, hey, when you see crash like this, don't get scared. Go and read the very first line. Wrong number of arguments, 2 give expected 3. How do I fix this crash?
That's 3 arguments, yeah.
How do I fix it? Are you going to fix these 3 lines? I'm lazy. I'm not going to fix the 3 lines. Because this is how you know how to use my program. I'm not going to just tell everyone, hey, your program's going to break unless you change something. So I'm going to say, by the way, if you just last name, consider last name as nil, is optional. So the equal here is the default value for the 3rd argument. Okay? You can give it anything, like, maybe all Vietnamese have this first name, and this last name, so you can give it like that. But here's an international class. I'm not going to assume that, someone's going to be Smith or Nguyen, right? So now when you run it, everything works as usual. Okay? Except I could even do Alex here and I pass in Smith. So look, this works. I'm extra. This worked, and then I can still do Smith next, and it still works. Well, except that, it works, but it doesn't remember the last name.
Yeah.
Who can help me with that? Last name is last name. That's it. That's everything I can cram into your brain to do the lab. But if you don't give me the last name, I am happy with last name is nil. Okay? So imagine take the screenshot and then remember what we've been going through in the past hour. things will start to make sense. Obviously, you cannot remember all the steps,
That's-
but it does make sense in an English way. It's like, so we know why it is designed to be this readable, right? We come from like initially just I want to be able to store something in a person. I can store the next thing, and then I keep doing the same thing. I'm gonna have a shorter way of doing it. Okay, thank you.